Page 108, The Secret of the Method. How is the leadership? Sometimes the greatest weakness of a person is not ignorance itself, but the refusal to understand what is happening inside his own heart. A person may walk through life believing that he is strong, confident, and in control, yet the moment trials appear, his inner confusion reveals a deeper truth. Self-knowledge is strength. When a person truly understands his fears, his desires, and his weaknesses, he becomes more aware of the dangers that may lead him to destruction. But when someone refuses to look within, he walks blindly toward his own downfall while believing he is safe. True confidence is not arrogance. It is not pretending to know everything. Real confidence begins with humility, because humility allows a person to learn. When a human being thinks he has already reached the highest understanding, that is often the beginning of his fall. Many people throw themselves into spiritual or moral destruction simply because they refuse to admit that they still have much to learn about themselves. Every event in life carries a message. Some events awaken us, others test our patience, and others expose the hidden intentions within our hearts. A person may say that he accepts destiny, that he is satisfied with what God has written for him. But true acceptance is not laziness. It does not mean sitting still while refusing to improve oneself or repair one's mistakes. Acceptance must be accompanied by effort. When someone hides behind the idea of destiny to justify an action, he may actually be surrendering to his own desires rather than submitting to divine wisdom. Human beings are always under the will of God. No matter how strong our personal will seems, there is a greater will above it. God can intervene between a person and his own heart. A person may plan something with full certainty, yet suddenly his heart changes, his intention shifts, or circumstances prevent him from continuing. This reminds us that control is never absolute for human beings. For this reason, awareness and constant self-examination are essential. A person must observe his own words, actions, and thoughts. Many people live without questioning what they say, what they do, or what they secretly feel toward others. Yet trials have a way of revealing everything hidden inside the heart. When a great test appears, it exposes what was buried for years. Words spoken carelessly, intentions hidden in silence, and desires concealed behind appearances suddenly become visible. This is why self-accountability is so important. Before judging the world, a person must first judge himself. Before criticizing others, he must observe his own behavior and purify his own intentions. The tongue, the hands, the actions, and even silent thoughts can shape a person's destiny. Sometimes people believe that solutions to their problems are far away, hidden behind complicated mysteries. In reality, solutions may pass right before their eyes, yet they fail to recognize them. Opportunities appear repeatedly, but many people ignore them because their hearts are distracted or blinded by arrogance, fear, or attachment to comfort. A person may live for years surrounded by guidance, advice, books, teachers, and signs pointing toward truth. Yet he continues walking in circles, convinced that he has found the right direction. This happens because guidance requires sincerity. Without sincerity, even the clearest signs appear meaningless. There is also a danger in believing that good intentions alone are enough. A person may say that he has good thoughts about God, that he trusts in divine mercy. But trust must be accompanied by action. Hopping for forgiveness while refusing to change behavior is not true hope. It becomes self-deception. Think about how people behave in ordinary situations. Someone may trust an institution, believing that its doors are always open. But when he arrives too late, he discovers that the door has already been closed. His request is rejected simply because he delayed too long. In the same way, the door of repentance is open, but it will not remain open forever. The wise person does not wait until the last moment. He acts while the opportunity still exists. Repentance is not only about regret. It is about transformation. It means recognizing past mistakes, abandoning them sincerely, and moving toward a better path. A person who truly repents begins to see life differently. His priorities change. His behavior changes. Even his understanding of success and failure becomes deeper. Another danger that destroys many hearts is arrogance. Pride may appear small at first, almost invisible. A person may feel slightly superior to others because of knowledge, wealth, position, or influence. But this small seed of arrogance grows slowly until it blinds him completely. The arrogant person often rejects truth when it comes from someone he considers inferior. Instead of evaluating the message, he judges the messenger. In doing so, he closes the door of learning and blocks the path toward wisdom. Humility, on the other hand, allows a person to grow endlessly. A humble person understands that knowledge is vast and that every human being can teach him something. Even a simple experience, a mistake, or a quiet observation can become a powerful lesson. People who remember God frequently develop a different relationship with life. They understand that everything in this world is temporary. Because of this awareness, they do not become overly attached to what they possess, nor do they despair when something is lost. Their emotional balance comes from a deeper understanding that all things belong to God and eventually return to Him. Such people often appear calm even in difficult situations. They pray frequently, they reflect deeply, and they maintain humility because they recognize their dependence on God in every aspect of life. The more a person realizes his need for divine guidance, the more his spiritual level rises. In contrast, arrogance pushes a person further away from truth. When someone becomes proud of his own achievements, he may forget that every ability he possesses was granted to him. Intelligence, talent, opportunity, and success are all gifts that can disappear at any moment. For this reason, wise individuals constantly seek protection from arrogance. They ask God to protect their hearts from pride, vanity, and self-admiration. Because the moment a person begins to admire himself excessively, he stops improving. Leadership also follows a deeper logic that many people fail to understand. True leadership does not always appear in obvious forms. Sometimes the roots of influence remain hidden, just like the roots of a tree buried beneath the soil. People see the branches and fruits, but they rarely notice the foundation that sustains the entire structure. Real change in society often happens gradually. It requires patience, wisdom, and careful preparation. Sudden transformations rarely succeed unless people are mentally and spiritually ready for them. This is why trials are necessary. Tests reveal the true nature of individuals. Some people appear strong until they face pressure, while others remain quiet for years but demonstrate remarkable integrity when the moment of truth arrives. There are also individuals who speak constantly about justice, truth, and reform. They argue endlessly, debating every issue loudly, yet their actions may remain limited. At the same time, there are silent individuals who speak very little but dedicate themselves quietly to meaningful work. Sometimes the silent reformer contributes more to society than the loud critic. Judging people solely by their words can therefore be misleading. Actions, intentions, and perseverance reveal far more about a person's character than speeches or debates. Another important lesson is the difference between those who have good intentions and those who spread negativity. A person who consistently thinks well of others and speaks good words contributes to harmony in society. His attitude encourages trust and cooperation. On the other hand, those who constantly spread suspicion, criticism, and hostility create division. They may believe they are defending truth, but their behavior can weaken the very communities they claim to protect. Balance is essential. Defending truth requires sincerity and courage, but it also requires wisdom and discipline. Speaking about justice without the willingness to sacrifice for it becomes empty talk. Human beings often forget that they are not always in control of their circumstances. Many people behave as if they are masters of their destiny, when in reality they are influenced by forces beyond their awareness. When someone recognizes this limitation, he becomes more cautious, more reflective, and more open to change. For those who find themselves under injustice or oppression, the first step is awareness. They must recognize their situation clearly and prepare themselves for transformation. Remaining passive in the face of injustice only strengthens those who misuse power. However, change must begin internally. A society cannot transform if individuals refuse to transform themselves. Each person must examine his beliefs, his habits, and his loyalties. Sometimes people maintain loyalty to systems or leaders who harm them simply because change feels dangerous or uncertain. Breaking away from such patterns requires courage. It requires the willingness to question long-held assumptions and explore new possibilities. History shows that meaningful reform often begins with individuals who dared to think differently. They were not always powerful or famous. Many were quiet observers who understood problems deeply before acting. These individuals recognized that real strength does not come from domination or loud authority. It comes from clarity of purpose, sincerity of intention, and perseverance despite difficulties. In the end, life itself is a continuous test. Every choice, every word, and every action contributes to shaping our future. Success is not defined solely by material achievement, but by the integrity of the path we choose. A person who lives with humility, awareness, and sincere effort gradually moves closer to truth. Even when he makes mistakes, he learns from them and corrects his course. But a person who refuses to reflect, who hides behind arrogance, or who delays change until opportunities disappear, may find himself facing consequences he never expected. The wise person, therefore, remains vigilant. He observes his own heart, seeks knowledge, corrects his mistakes, and treats others with humility and fairness. In doing so, he transforms not only his own life, but also the lives of those around him. And perhaps the greatest victory a human being can achieve is not power over others, but mastery over his own heart.